its simplest form, you pretty much get everything here from the structure deck's Vortex of Magic. So all you need to do is have 1500 gems, which you get from solo mode, from challenges, super easy to do. You go to the shop, you buy 3 of the structure decks here, and then you get pretty much everything you need. If you've watched my channel before, this is old news. I've gone over how much value you get out of this Vortex of Magic structure deck ever since it dropped. It is good for multiple events, just a way to easily grind up all 3100 gems from events. Let's get into the deck list. I'm opting to play 3 Dark Magician in this event just because I like being able to special summon as many as possible, but I have bricked on 3 of them in my opening hand before, as well as 3 Magician Souls. So keep in mind, if you're running 3 of your most important cards, that you will likely brick with this deck, which will lead to losses. The DD Crows do not come in the deck, but they are a decent option against Light because they can help disrupt Drytron. However, if you're not playing at the upper levels of, like, you know, Master rank players, Diamond rank players, etc., you're likely not going to be running into Drytron all that much on the Light side. In fact, I think I faced more Dark decks than I have Light decks with this Dark Magician deck. That's how bad the matchmaking is so far in this event. We're only like 2 days in, I think, but hopefully it'll improve. Regardless though, this is, like I said, not a deck that you want to use in the top tier, but if you're, you know, just starting out in the game, you're maybe at silver, gold, platinum rank, this deck can definitely get you through the event. Relatively hassle-free. You will take losses, like I said, but it'll get you through. Anyways, moving on, 3 Magician's Rod, 3 Magician Souls, 1 Dark Magician Girl, 2 Illusion of Chaos. You can see all these ultra rares here. They all come in the structure deck, so you're getting great value here for the cards. 1 Dark Hole, so this is another card that I crafted. Again, just a super rare. You should have a lot of super rare points. You can easily craft this. 1 Raigeki, which comes from the structure, the solo mode. So not from the structure deck, but you should not have to craft this. You get 1 free by completing like the tutorials in solo mode. 1 Dark Magic attack instead of a Harpy's Feather Duster. This is actually more preferred in my opinion because you can search it off Eternal Soul, so you're not like depending on drawing it off as a one of, so it's pretty good. This is three of a card you have to craft in my opinion, so this is where I would say you have to spend your points. You don't necessarily need to spend them on the DD Crows and the Dark Hole, but 3 Preparation of Rites is really important. You could also go like 2 Prep and 3 Illusion if you wanted to as well. That's an option I've run before and it works fairly well, pretty much the same. But these are like a 60 minimum investment for super rares if you're going to build this deck, because you need to see the Illusion of Chaos, and this card helps you see it as well. So you definitely want at least 2, if not 3 of those. Okay, 2 Eye of Timaeus, again, comes in the structure deck, no problem. I opted to craft 2 pot cards just to add to consistency. Since I'm running 3 of each of the fusions, I'm not too concerned about banishing all 6 just to draw 2. This card is essentially pot of greed for the deck, since everything else you pretty much will never go into. Maybe just the dark, but that's about it. So I would opt to craft this if you don't have one already. Same with Pot of Prosperity, you should have this. It's like the most broken card in the game. Dig 6 deep into your deck, pull anything you need out. That is an option. So again, not needed, but something I would craft with just super rare points, so not a huge investment. 1 Magician Salvation, double Dark Magical Circle. You could run 3 of this if you want, but I'm opting to run 2. An interesting card that I've opted to run as well is Piercing the Darkness. Now, this card is kind of like a win more card in my opinion, but it can also help you like claw back advantage like in the grind game, so it can be useful for that as well. But after you get this engine rolling, like, and I'm going to show you a clip, but or I maybe put it in the beginning, I don't know how I'm going to structure the video yet, but once you get the engine rolling, it's like insanely powerful and really hard to stop. 3 Soul Servant, again, these all come in the structure deck, and then 1 Secrets of Dark Magic for fusion and ritual summoning. Now, the traps, I think the Power Sting Stone is something you definitely should craft along with the Preparation of Rites. So I would say you have a total of an 80 super rare, or sorry, no, 30 is 60, 30 is 90, 30 more is 120. So 120 super rare points that you'll have to spend of your own crafting points in order to make this deck viable. The 3 Imperms, these are ultra rares, staple hand traps that you should have. But if you did not want to craft the Imperms, you could just go 3 Evenly Matched instead, which are just super rares. These will help you break boards. But the Imperms are nice because they're one of the only hand traps you can play in the dark side of the event, along with the DD Crows. And then 2 Eternal Soul. I don't like playing 1 just because if one gets outed, I would like to always have a backup. The extra deck, 3 Dark Magician, the Dragon Knight. This card protects your back row from targeting and destruction, so they can't target banish, they can't duster things away. You want to get this out as quickly as possible. If you get this out with the Piercing the Darkness and the Eternal Soul out, I think it's pretty much GG. There's almost nothing your opponent can do. You get the setup, these 3 cards in rotation, which does require an Eye of Timaeus and a Dark Magician plus Piercing the Darkness plus Eternal Soul. And then if you get the Dragonite out, it's like game. It's like a lock that's almost unbreakable, I'm pretty sure. Anyways, the Dark Magician's at 3 as well. This is your utility card, your draw, power, very strong as well. And then just, again, whatever you have to throw into the extra deck. So again, these all come in the structure deck, so very, very minimal investment. You can opt to fill out the extra deck with the rest of whatever you want, whatever you have. You'll likely never go into these because these are the only 2 that really matter a lot. So that is the deck. Like I said, very, very cheap option. If you want to take out what I think is not absolutely required, you're left with something like this, of which, like I said, you're only really crafting preparation and power sync stones, and then you can fill out the other 8 with whatever you want. But more often than not, you're going to want to put in board breakers, because going second with this deck can be a little bit of a challenge. But once you get your engine rolling, if they don't have a way to clear your back row, it can be very, very hard to stop. So in this matchup, we are Dark Magician versus what's going to be Counter Fairies. We do lose the coin toss. Your opponent opts to go first. And when this Counter Fairy deck goes first, with if they draw their Bountiful Artemis and they play a ton of counter traps, it can be very hard to stop. Thankfully, we hard drew the double Eternal Soul because we do expect one to be negated. We start off baiting the Interruption with Preparation of Rites. That baits out the Dark Bribe, and we get a free draw off of it. So again, like a bricky hand. I don't know what the RNG in this game is doing, but like, drawing multiple 2-ofs is kind of crazy. It works out for the Eternal Soul, but drawing double Dark Magician, I'm just like, really? That's kind of nutty. Anyways, we're going to then go ahead and activate Illusion of Chaos, grab Magician's Rod, put back one of the Dark Magicians. And this is what's good about this deck. If you do end up running a bricky hand, if you can resolve some of your card effects, like Illusion of Chaos, it can unbrick your hand for you. So we get some utility with the Magician's Rod. Again, knowing that the opponent's on Counter Fairies, we expect this to get negated and destroyed, and sure enough it does off the Divine Wrath. They get their draw off of Bountiful Artemis, and we double set the Eternal Soul and the Soul Servant. So the opponent's got 3 cards in hand. They're going to activate the Sanctuary in the Sky, or the Sanctum of Parshath, which becomes that name. We're going to attempt to activate Eternal Soul number 1, and Solemn Warning will negate the activation. So that means we can activate the second one here, which we do. The opponent reveals the Sacred Arch Arknight, and that will allow them to beat over our Dark Magician. But when we bring it to the field, we're going to tribute it off for the Magician's Rod back in the graveyard to return to hand. They're going to get the counter trap to hand either way, and it is the Omni Negate with Sanctuary in the Sky, which this card counts as. So we know that they got 1 Omni Negate, but we've kind of whittled down their resources by baiting out Interruptions, and the Magician's Rod is going to get constant recurability. And this is the grind game where Dark Magician can really excel. If your back row doesn't get interrupted, doesn't get destroyed, even though it gets interrupted, as long as you have like Illusion of Chaos and like I said, your back row going, it's pretty hard to stop this deck. And you're going to see us now accrue the advantage needed. Because we have Dark Magician in the graveyard, we are going to be able to banish the Soul Servant and draw the card that we search in the Dark Magical Circle. We put back the Dark Magician just to get it back again with the circle. So again, maintaining that card advantage. And now we're able to kind of pop off. We retain the ability of the Eternal Soul until after we got the Dark Magician on field, because we're going to search for that Dark Magic attack. Again, one of the reasons why I like it over the Duster in this deck in particular. And just like that, we have cleared out the entire opponent's board, putting them on nothing. No advantage being built with the Artemis, no Arknight, getting them counter traps whenever damage is inflicted. However, this is nuts. They actually have the Card of Demise, and I'm like, of course they do, right? Like, draw 3 for free, set their counter traps, and I'm like, okay, my only shot here now is trying to remove the back row with the Dark Magical Circle. So I get a free removal here since they were set this turn. They can't be activated. So during the end phase, we Eternal Soul Special Summon to banish, and we hit a Solemn Strike, which is good. And then again, recurability, right? We're building that advantage. Magician's Rod comes back by tributing off that Dark Magician. We draw into Soul Servant, which is incredible. Trying to bait out another Interruption here that does not get bait out. So we end up putting the Dark Magic attack back on top, and then we're going to go ahead and banish to draw 2, because we actually sent Dark Magician Girl with the second, with the Magician's Soul, so that we could get the draw 2, and we draw into an Imperm here, which isn't really that useful in this situation, but it's fine. We bait out another Interruption with the Dark Magic attack, and then we summon Magician's Rod. The opponent kind of realizes they are going to be outgrinded, and they end up scooping it up. So just like that, the Dark Magician engine can show how effective it can be. So in this matchup here, I think we were going up against one of the loner decks for the light side. We do win the coin toss and are going first. By the way, the matchups we're going up against are like platinum players. So again, kind of like mid-range, which should be manageable for this deck, like I mentioned in the deck list video or portion of the video. To start off, pretty decent start. The Magician's Rod into the Magician's Soul, getting the Dark Magician. We're going to opt to fuse here, and the opponent has the Gamma Delta to negate the spell. That's fine. We're going to go into Dark here, even though we can't bring anything back. It's just a way that we contribute a spellcaster when we activate the Eternal Soul to get the Rod back to hand. So we are going to be able to draw back the fusion spell, and then I could fuse if I really wanted to, I think, into the Dark Magicians, but it probably wasn't necessary because I was anticipating that this was a loner deck. I'm like, I don't think they run Duster and Evenly, so I'm fine setting up, like, overcommitting to the back row here. But if you're running up against a custom deck, there's a very high likelihood that those cards are in the deck, like Dusters and things to clear back row. I make a stupid play here by mistake. I knew that this was a quick effect, so I don't know why I did this there. I know what this card is, but I just like forgot that that's what they were gonna go for. So I activate this to like banish the Synchro on summon, and then I'm like, oh, if they bring out Omega, yeah, I just kind of lose to the fact that it just banishes, quick effect banishes itself. So yep, we got screwed there. That was our own misplay. No, nothing you can say about that. The opponent does go into Lambda, which is the correct play, it looks like, because that will enable them to activate Psy-Frame cards from their hand, even though they have monsters on the field. We start off with the top decked Dark Magic attack, and of course, once again, no utility out of it. The opponent activates their Metaverse, grabbing the field spell. We summon Magicians, but regardless, the opponent, I think, is going to be able to activate something to search for another Psy-Frame card anyway. So I'm just like, ah, shoot, yeah, I probably should not have used that just yet. I should have just gone battle first. Before they can potentially get another Delta to hand, I'm going to go ahead and beat into their Lambda here. Yeah, so they tried to use the... oh no, it's not a negate, it's an attack. So you can special summon this card from your hand and a driver from the deck, whatever, destroy the attacking monster, and then end the battle phase. So they attempted to do that on the Dark Magician, which is unaffected by Eternal Soul. So because it's not destroyed, it doesn't end the battle phase, which means I can continue to attack. So yeah, the Dark Magician was able to push through that effect. If it was just negate the attack, I don't know if the Dark Magician would be affected. Maybe not, right? Because it would be unaffected by card effects, so it's affecting the attack. I don't know. Yeah, I guess you're protected with the Eternal Soul regardless. So anyways, we're going to get some additional utility activating the secrets in the battle phase to bring out a fusion, beat down some more, clear out the opponent's board. They kind of realize that, yeah, the semi-lock with the Dark Magician being unaffected is enough to kind of make them scoop. And there's another reason how Dark Magician can be very effective. You know, if your opponent doesn't have that back row removal, and, you know, before you can set up the Dark Magician and the Dragon Knight, then you're in pretty good shape.